Alright, hello guys, this is section 2.5, compound inequalities. Today we're looking at ands and ors. So if we look at here at this first one, we need to figure out what's the inequality that we're looking at here. Well, we know inequalities are basically what's the smallest number that works, what's the biggest number that works. So if we look at this picture right here, the smallest number that works is -5. So I'm going to write that down below. The biggest number that works, right here, 6. So I'll write that up here. And basically, we're just going to put the x in the middle. And then we know that all of these numbers are bigger than 5, -5, but they're also all smaller than 6. Since this is a closed circle, put a line underneath. And that's an and. The other one we have here is an or. Now an or is basically two separate inequalities. So I like to pretend that this one isn't here, and I just ask myself, how would I write this? Well, this one says x is smaller than -2 because I'm using all of the numbers that are smaller than -2. Or over here, this one says x is bigger than 10, but since it's a closed circle, I need that line underneath. So this is an or, and over here we had an and. And it's kind of a closed, sort of traps in your numbers. And or is just kind of like, well, you can either be this side or that side. Okay, let's look how to write some of these. So a number x is greater than -8. A number x is greater than -8, and x is less than or equal to 4. So let's see. How would we write that? Well, since it's an and, I know like this one, it has to be sort of all as one. So I write my smallest number first, biggest number last. Let's see, x is bigger than -8. That also means -8 is smaller than x. And then it also says x is smaller than or equal to 4. And it wants us to graph that. So let's see. Smallest number first, biggest number last. -8 is open, 4 is closed. And since it's an and, I know it's all the numbers between, because x is trapped between -8 and 4. So let's look at the or. Let's see, a number y is at most. Is at most. Well, that means that it could be 0, but it can't be bigger than 0. Or at least 2. That means y is at least 2. Now this is an or. And we know ors should look something like this, where it's one inequality or the other. So let's see. Let's clear a little bit of space for ourselves. Let's see. Smallest number first, biggest number second, closed, closed, less than 0, bigger than 2. Okay, nothing too crazy there. Now, let's talk about what the interval notations would be for these. So let's clear some space, get rid of some of the stuff we don't need. Our and is sort of the trapped one. Greater than 0, less than or equal to 4. So remember, interval notation is basically when does it start working, when does it stop working. So for this and, it starts working at -8, it stops working at 4. Open circle is parenthesis. Closed circle is bracket. Now an OR, again, is basically just two inequalities. So let's see, this one right here is negative infinity to 0. Closed circle means bracket, always a parenthesis around infinity. And this one is it starts working at 2 and it stops working at infinity. Always a parenthesis. Closed circle means bracket. Now to show that these two are part of the same answer, we use what's called a union. A union basically just says these two things are together. All right, write each sentence as an equality, graph it, and then write the interval notation. A number C is less than 5 and greater than or equal to negative 2. Well, this is an and, so I need to write it as one inequality. So negative 2, so smallest number, biggest number. C is bigger than negative 2, but smaller than 5. Smallest number, biggest number. Closed at negative 2 because the line underneath, open at 5. And it's an and, so we just lock in all the numbers between those two. Interval notation again is when does it start working, when does it stop working. So starts working at negative 2, stops working at 5. Closed means bracket, open means parenthesis. A number t is less than negative 1 or t is greater than or equal to 4. All right, so again, smallest number first, biggest number last. Open because no line underneath. Closed because line underneath. And remember, or is basically just two inequalities put together. So t is less than negative 1 or bigger than 4. Your interval notation there, negative infinity to negative 1. Always a parenthesis around infinities. Open means parenthesis. Or 4 to infinity. Always a parenthesis. And closed means bracket. Union between the two to show that they are part of the same answer. Now let's solve some of these. All right. Now, when we're solving these, we want to get x by itself. So if I look here, to get x by itself, I need to add 2. If you remember from Algebra 1, which is this class, so I hope you remember, whatever I do to one side, I got to do the other. But what's interesting here is I've got two sides. So I've got to do it over here and over here. So cancel it here. Opposite signs, so we subtract 4 minus 2 is 2. The 4 was bigger, and it's negative. Just x in the middle. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, so this is an and. I know that because it's all together. So I go smallest number first, biggest number second, open, open, and means all the numbers in between. Interval notation. Where does it start working? Where does it stop working? Open means parenthesis. Open means parenthesis. Okay, here we go. We want to get x by itself. So, sad map. It says, look to subtract first. Well, I can subtract here, so it'll cancel. But again, be careful. I have to do it to both sides. So wherever you do one side, you got to do the other. But this time, I've got two sides. Same sign, so we add. 3 plus 1 is 4, but they're both negative. Only negative 2 is left in the middle. 9 minus 1 is 8. Now I need to divide by a negative. So my spider sense is tingling. Flip our signs. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Negative divided by negative is positive. This cancels, so it's just x. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. So it's an and again. So smallest number first, biggest number second. At negative 4, I'm closed because of the line underneath. At 2, I'm open because of no line. It's an and, so we lock in the ones between the two numbers. And its interval notation is, when does it start working? When does it stop working? Parenthesis means open. Bracket is closed. All right, get x by itself. Subtract 1. But we've got to do it to the other sides. Here and here. Same sign, so we add. Negative 4. Just subtract. 5 minus 1 is 4. So we draw our line. Small number first, big number second. Open, open. Trap them in between. Interval notation is, when does it start working? When does it stop working? Here, SADMAP means to subtract or add first. So I've got some adding. Do it to both sides, because whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the others. Different signs, so we subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. 2 plus 4 is 6. Now I need to divide by a negative, so I flip. That's 1. W, and negative 2. Small number first, big number second. Close that negative 2. Open at 1. And trap the numbers in between. And rotation. When does it start working? When does it stop working? Closed means bracket. Open means parenthesis. All right, let's look at an OR. Let's look at a couple examples, and then we're going to be done. So ORs, again, remember, it's just basically two inequalities kind of put together. So I just solved this one first. Then I solve this one. So let's see. Add 5. But notice that there's just the one side here, so I just add it here. This cancels, so now I have 3y is less than opposite sign, so we subtract 8 minus 5 is 3. The negative was bigger. Then I divide by 3. So no flipping here, because you're just dividing by a positive. So I get y is less than negative 1. Over here, we add 1, add 1. So 2y is greater than 6. Divide by 2. And y is greater than 3. So this is an OR. So let's look at what we need to do here. Small number first, big number second. Open and open. Let's see, y is less than negative 1. So I go over here to where all the numbers are smaller than negative 1, but it's also bigger than 3. So I draw where it's bigger. And again, it's two inequalities kind of forced to be together. So this one right here, your interval notation is negative infinity to negative 1. Parenthesis, parenthesis, because of the open. And this one always is a parenthesis. This one is it starts working at 3. It does not stop working until you get to infinity. Always a parenthesis around infinity. Open means parenthesis. And don't forget your union. And the last one we're going to look at. Again, inequalities of OR type just mean two separate inequalities forced to be together. Subtract 6, subtract 6. So I've got 2x is less than negative 8. Divide by 2, divide by 2. And we're dividing by a positive, so we do not flip. Over here, add 5, add 5. So I have 4x is greater than 3 plus 5, 8. Divide by 4, divide by 4, x is greater than 2. So remember, it's an OR. So it's two inequalities being forced to be together. Write your smallest first, biggest second, open, open. So less than 4 goes that way, greater than 2 goes that way. Now let's see, this works from negative infinity to negative 4. Always parenthesis around infinity, and a parenthesis because of open. And over here, this one says it starts working at 2, goes to infinity. Always a parenthesis around infinity, and open means parenthesis. And don't you forget the union. Okay, that's all I've got. You've got some homework on big ideas. So let's get it done, and let's get ready for that test in a few days. Have a good one, guys.